the 49ers, I think it's safe to say that their Super Bowl window is sealed shut and there's no reopening it.
Let's talk football.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the All Around Sports Podcast for sports, or everything on this channel. I'm your host, Antonio. Today, we are talking about the San Francisco 49ers. After having one of their worst seasons under Brock Purdy and also Kyle Shanahan, they ended up not only having a losing record, but also finishing last place in the NFC West.
Next floor, bottom of the food chain.
Which technically a lot of people thought it was Seattle, but who's last place now? But anyways, the Niners. I think, well, you already saw it from the title. You already saw it from the title of this video. But before we get started into this topic, if you all do enjoy this video, please be sure to do me a favor and smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. For now, let's talk about the 49ers. So the 49ers, oh man, I've talked about this team a lot. And the primary reason is because of an ESPN analyst, Dan Orlovsky. He's the main reason I keep constantly making these videos. Because one time when they came out of the Super Bowl loss, Dan Orlovsky was constantly protecting him. And also, as he does with any quarterback, as we all know, if you watch First Take, Get Up, and also NFL Live, which is why I constantly bring this up. But the 49ers, just wanted to throw that out there, just in case you all were wondering. But the 49ers, their window is sealed shut. There's no reopening this one because, like the old saying goes, you can't win with them, you can't win without them. They can't win when they're injured, and they can't win with even when their players are healthy. Because we've seen this from the 49ers. We saw in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, which technically was last year because it's now 2025. But we've seen this. Kyle Shanahan cannot win the biggest games of the year. He can't do it. It's just something with his system. Because the main reason why they constantly choke is his play calling. The main reason is because of that. You look at the Detroit Lions in in that game in Week 17, where you had a chance to beat them. I don't even know why you were trying.
You just don't know when to quit.
Yeah, I've been told that before.
But you were running the ball, and we know this with any team. If you run the ball, that establishes your team, and especially with my team. I've been saying it for years, but this is the main reason because the whole second half they didn't even run it; they passed. You know this when you're facing off against a team, you need to change it up, especially when you're going against the top team in the NFC and you run the dang ball. I don't care what anyone else says. You run the dang ball. You run it. And I know CMC was hurt the entire game. But for real, this team needs to learn to show up. We see Detroit right now making a contention for the Super Bowl, even with their injuries on the defense. Which I pointed them out when I was talking about Brock Purdy. I meant to say the Detroit Lions defense was the main reason that they're the main reason of which they're still winning. I meant to say that. But my thing about Brock Purdy, and one thing that annoys me, Dan Orlovsky constantly gives him passes, as does every person that I've talked to. They constantly give him passes. When are we going to stop giving them passes? I mean, I get they're injured. I get it. But look at Kansas City. They're injured all the dang time. And they still win games. Now, I got this from a guy. I think his name was Terry. He was commenting in one of my videos. If Terry's watching this, I get what you were saying about the offensive line being in that Super Bowl against Kansas City. And the offensive line for the Chiefs was injured. I understand what Terry was trying to say to me. All that I'm trying to say is we see teams right now that are in the playoffs that had injuries on defense. We look at the Rams. They started 1-5 when they were injured. What was their finishing record? They finished 10-7 and beat the Vikings. And I didn't even expect that. And then you also look at a few other teams. The Seattle Seahawks, even though they didn't make it. They were without Kenneth Walker III the entire last slate of games. What was their record? 10-7. Even though they made the playoffs, they still constantly won games. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when Chris Godwin was out, what was their record? They were 11-6. And I believe they were 11-6, if I remember correctly. And then you also got teams around the entire AFC. You got the Houston Texans. 2 receivers were out from them. They had Stephon Diggs out, and they had who was the other guy? Tank Dell. Tank Dell was also out. Didn't they just win a playoff game when everybody counted them out? Didn't they just win a playoff game without 2 of their best receivers? I believe they did. I believe it was the Texans that did it. Don't correct me if I'm wrong on that. But this is my point that I have constantly said, and I stand by this. Purdy needs to take the next step. And the main thing great quarterbacks do that are in the Hall of Fame when their weapons are hurt. We see Joe Montana. You see Steve Young. You see Peyton Manning. You see Tom Brady. You see Patrick Mahomes that is going to soon be in the Hall of Fame. You got so many quarterbacks that are going to be in the Hall of Fame because they've won when their players are hurt. We look at the Patriots sometimes. They had Gronkowski injured for some of those Super Bowls. They won them. And even before Gronkowski went there, they won championships. This is the main thing I've pointed to. And for any of you that are new, I've constantly made this new point. Purdy needs to take that next step. You're not always going to have a George Kittle to back you up because he's going to be gone in a few years. You're not always going to have a Deebo Samuel to back you up, which he's looking like a shell of himself. You're not going to have a Jawan Jennings there the whole time. And also, Jawan Jennings, my personal opinion on him, he gives me vibes of like a Jermaine Kearse for Seattle. Kind of gives me that vibe. You're not going to be able to do it with those weapons all the time. You're going to have to, one way or another, step up when those guys are gone.
You take the saber down, or you die trying. No excuses.
Yes, Captain.
And primarily when Kyle Shanahan's gone, because he's going to get fired in a matter of weeks.
I didn't carry on this long because I took a certain delight in following your string of failures. But you finally become tiresome, predictable. You hit rock bottom. Master, please.
We already saw it with Mike McCarthy. And I mean, it's the Cowboys, but still. The main reason I point to the 49ers almost every topic I make is because of Dan Orlovsky, as I stated. The 49ers, they are not a contender to the Super Bowl. They're not. I pointed to this multiple times. If you're a Super Bowl contender, you need to go out there and prove it. And if you're 49ers, you need to do 3 things in order to be a Super Bowl contender. 1, beat Kansas City. This is a team that's constantly owned you and has looked like your legitimate daddy. Whenever he faces you. That's number 1. Number 2, the defense needs to get stops. This is a defense that ranks bottom 15. And they let go by far their best defensive coordinator in Steve Wilks, which that was a dumb move, in my personal opinion. Because he was a first-year head coach. You led every defensive category in the NFL, and you just let him walk? That is a dumb move, in my personal opinion. Y'all can have yours. Number 3, and most important, shine in the big lights. We see this in the playoffs when they make it. They constantly give up leads. We saw this against the Chiefs when they created the legend of the Chiefs in Super Bowl 54. What happened? You had a 10-point lead, and you also had 10 minutes to go in the ball game. You should have won that. And then also a few years later, you went to the NFC Championship game against the Rams. What happened there? You lost a 10-point lead and gave up the game-winning interception because of Aaron Donald, who has a more recent championship than you do. Also the Seahawks. But anyways, then you also have the Philadelphia Eagles. They pounded you. And I know Brock Purdy was hurt for some of that game, which I respect. No team loses 4 quarterbacks in a single year. Then you also have the year later. They went into Vegas and lost to the Chiefs again. This is a team that I've constantly talked about. If you're going to be a Super Bowl contender, you have to beat Kansas City, stop the teams on defense, and shine in the biggest lights. But the 49ers are never going to win a championship because they don't know how to win games. Whenever they're hurt, they lose games. Whenever they're fully healthy, they still lose some games more than others. And my final point is this. No matter how good the 49ers look, no matter how stacked of a roster they have, no matter what their record is, don't lose it. No matter how hard it gets, whenever the lights are the brightest and the expectations are at the highest, or at its peak, the 49ers will always find a way to choke away a championship. And what happened the last few years? Exactly that. And it'll stay that way. And Kyle Shanahan is never going to win a championship with the 49ers. And if he does, I'll make a 7-minute long video with an apology. Because the 49ers, they can win games. They can make playoff games. But they're never going to win a championship because of both Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you guys think the 49ers Super Bowl window is shut? Let me know why or why not down in the comment section below. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to do me a favor and smash the like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Till next time, I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao for now.